Hello, I'm Amy. I'm a drama therapist working in London, UK. Welcome to my channel, Play It Through. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to get notified of future video posts if you like this one. Today, I'm going to be talking about COVID-19 and lockdown and looking at that through the lens of Elisabeth Kübler-Ross's 5 Stages of Grief. So Elisabeth wrote about this in her book on death and dying, where she interviews people who are about to die about their process of coming to terms with their own mortality. And I want to use that as a model, but apply it not to personal mortality, but coming to terms with other types of losses. Specifically right now, I want to look at the impact of lockdown and all of the things that we've lost from our lives and the impact that's having on people in terms of mental health, well-being. Because actually I think this is a really big area and I don't see very many people talking about it. I'm not trying to diminish COVID-19 as a pandemic that's out there and which is wreaking havoc across the globe at the moment. But lockdown itself is causing problems and it is reducing lives and it's taking away things that people need, such as contact with others and routine and all of the things that we used to do that helped us to stay safe and sane and connected. It's really stripped all that away. And I really want to look at that because what's been lost is huge. And I don't think enough is being done to really acknowledge that and to think about the impact that that change, sudden change, might be having on people's lives. So I've picked from the deck, the bereavement deck of cards. These are by Ian Long and Pip Wilson. You might be familiar with their tree. This is their tree. It's used all the time in like business strategy days or well-being things in terms of which person on this tree are you and why and where do you want to be, where do you see other people, are you climbing up, are you at the top, are you falling out. That's how most people are familiar with the blob people. But the blob cards, they look at certain themes. So this set is the Blob Bereavement Cards, and I've chosen 5 cards that are going to look at Elisabeth Kübler-Ross's 5 Stages of Grief. They're my choices for which images went with each image. There's others in the pack that maybe you would have chosen. It's very personal, but these are the ones that I'm going to use. So the first stage of grief is denial. Denial that it's real, denial it's happening. And in terms of human mortality, that's no, it can't be real. You can't mean that. But in terms of COVID-19, I think we saw a lot of people starting here. I think on a political leadership level, we saw a slowness to respond, which I think was partially from denial. I think from a personal level, from some people more than others, you've seen the same slowness to respond. We don't have to change the do. We don't have to not go out. We don't have to stop seeing people. We can still hug each other, right? We can still, it's not real. It's that's not really happening. It's not that bad. Is it made up? Is it really happening? Is all of the sort of denial that this is here and the change has happened. I think you've also seen denial in terms of how massive this is, in terms of some people denying that it's a change even, and oh, I'm an introvert, I've always been in lockdown, or this is normal for me. Is it? Is this normal for you? Because this isn't normal human behavior, to not be connected with people at all. That's not normal human behavior. And in fact, we see from looking at people who are isolated in prisons or in other studies that to be cut off from people has a profound effect in a really short time. So I think there is a denial going on of some people that don't want to really acknowledge just how big a change this has been and how big an impact. The second stage of grief is anger. I've chosen this card for anger. I think I see a lot of this in interactions that happen between people in denial and people in anger. So this person is maybe still not social distancing or not following the guidelines, and this person is reporting them to the police and is furious and is taking pictures and posting on social media and trying to socially shame and blame and coerce people into behaving differently because they're just really angry. And maybe they have a personal reason to be. Maybe this is deeply frightening. Maybe somebody they know is sick. Maybe they've been sent a doctor's letter saying you are vulnerable. We won't be able to help you if you catch this. Maybe they are just really heightened and scared and worried about what's going to happen and not really able to regulate with that. And it's much easier to project that outwards and to blame other people than it is to work out what am I going to do with that energy. I think I've also seen a lot of this directed towards governments and health authorities. So why is there not enough testing? Why isn't there enough ventilators? Why isn't this target being met, or hasn't that been done? Or why didn't you respond sooner? Or where's the political leadership? Why is this happening? Why wasn't there more preparation beforehand for something that we could never have predicted would happen? Again, some of this is benefits of hindsight. Some of this is, okay, maybe we could have done that. But it's a lot of energy being expelled on could have, should have, would have, rather than where are we now? So these two people exist. The denial person who isn't ready to accept the reality of how much has changed, and the anger person that just wants to lash out and blame other people and is being confrontational with it. And I think these two in particular often get into like an altercation between them where it's who's right, who's wrong. I've seen this a lot on social media, particularly on sort of some of the community pages I'm on, where somebody will say something that is designed just to shame or blame or otherwise be prejudiced towards somebody that they disagree with. And that's happening both ways. It's okay to feel however you're feeling. And it's okay for somebody else to be feeling something different. What I think is not being appreciated enough right now is that we are all in this crazy boat together and we're not all responding in the same way. And that's okay because we're going through this massive adjustment to what's been a radical change in our life. And it has been a radical change, like basic fundamental human rights, which we took for granted just 3 months ago, are now not available to us. So it's a fundamental human right to have a right to gather with people in public, which we're not allowed to do. It's a human right to be able to marry whoever we want to, and at the moment we're not allowed to get married. It's a human right to be able to go to work or go to school. And for many people, those things have been taken away and they've been told you must stay home, you mustn't go out. So fundamentally, life has changed. And if some people are in a denial phase and if some people are in an anger phase, because that is a fundamental change, I think there needs to be more acceptance and willingness to work with the fact that we are all struggling to come to terms with what's just happened. The next phase of grief is bargaining. What if? What if I just invite someone round and we have a barbecue in the garden? That's okay, isn't it? That's surely, if we socially distance, that's not breaking the rules. What if we go for a walk, which we're allowed to do, we're allowed an hour of exercise, and we just happen to meet our friend who we happen to have texted before we left to say that we were happening to be going on a walk in this. That's okay, isn't it? That's allowed. And what if we happen to take a rest and happen to sit on the bench? And what if we do this? And And well, we're allowed to drive out there to have a walk, aren't we? Like, that's just having exercise, and we're allowed to. What if, can we, should we, what if this doesn't apply to me, but I could do all the bargaining, all of the pushing the limits and the pushing the boundaries and the, can I do this, can I not do this, what's allowed, what's not, all of that's coming in here. And I can see a lot of that going on. And I think there's a lot of judgment, again, for people that are in the bargaining stage. There's people that want the rules to be tighter and more controlled so that there's less room for bargaining. And these people are more boxed in and more controlled, and it's more black and white and less grey. But what I'd say is that not all of us start this in the same starting position. So right now, some people have gardens that they can go and sit in, and some people do not. Right now, some people are living with people who care for them, love them, and some people are completely on their own and have nobody that they can connect with. Some of the most lonely, most vulnerable don't even have access to the internet, so they can't do FaceTime or Skype meetups or Zoom calls. And so not everyone is in the same place. Some people are in even worse places. There are something like 200,000 children right now who are in lockdown with somebody who is sexually abusing them. And that's just the UK. If some people need to do more bargaining and need to push the limits more to get safety, I think there needs to be more understanding from society that actually some people will need more to get through this, because what we are asking people to do isn't normal for human development. And if you're already starting from a point of having less space and less freedom and less security, to feel more imprisoned and more locked down by that, you're going to need to bargain harder to keep yourself going in this time. So I really want, for all of the bargainers out there, more compassion, because you don't know what's going on. Even if somebody is safe, you don't know about their mental health. There's loads of statistics on how many people will have a mental health problem in their life and how many have it at any given time. You don't know what's going on for someone. You don't know what's behind the smile. You don't know how much sleep they're getting, how fast their heart rate is. You don't know what it is to live somebody else's life. And people need to do things that keep them safe right now. And bargaining is part of that. It's part of, how can I cope with this? How can I make this okay for me? And yes, some of it is not acceptance still, and it's coming back to this, and I don't accept it, so what can I do instead? But some of it is just people need to find their own path through this, because it's huge, and they have to find a way that makes it bearable. The next phase of grief is sadness and depression. And actually, I'm seeing quite a lot of this in people that I'm talking to at the moment. Friends mostly. I'm not going to disclose about clients, but I'm seeing a lot of shutdown and a lot of dissociation, so not really in touch with their body, and a lot of low energy. It's affecting sleep, it's affecting appetite, it's affecting thoughts. A crisis such as lockdown and the fear caused by COVID-19, it's going to come in and it's going to amplify anything that's already there. So anyone who before COVID-19 was struggling with addiction or eating disorders or suicidal thoughts or self-harm, this is going to have added pressure to what's already going on for their system. And when under pressure, when threatened by the outside, the nervous system has some standard responses. We can fight, we can run away, that's the flight response. If those two things don't work, and they don't work for COVID-19, you cannot fight an invisible virus that you don't have and that's just out there. You can't run away from it when you're being told stay at home. So the only thing that's left to do is freeze. And I'm seeing shutdown, and I'm seeing people losing contact with themselves. So you can notice it in body language, in shoulders turning in posture, if people slump as they don't make eye contact. You can see it, you can hear it in tones of voice sometimes when people talk about, oh yeah, I meant to do this and I didn't, just the day just went away. You can hear it, you can hear the energy. And do you know, there's lots of people responding to COVID-19 and lockdown by going, I'm going to write the book at last, and I'm going to do all the exercise, and I'm going to get myself in shape, and I'm going to achieve all of the things. And you know, if you're there, that is great. You go for it and you do whatever it is that you want to do. But for other people who are not there, please don't judge yourself against the people that are. Because if you're here and you can't even like connect to your own self right now, and if the thoughts in your head are all very black and very dark and very shut down, don't judge yourself for not being something else. Give yourself compassion for where you are, because do you know what? Life has changed, and if you are sad about the things that you've lost, that's okay, because there's a lot that's gone on. There's a lot that's been lost. Even the real connection with people. I love Zoom, I love Facebook, I love Skype and WhatsApp and all of the ways that I've been connecting with friends and family. But I miss real eye contact. I miss the fact that if I look at the camera and it looks like I'm looking directly at you, I can't actually see you. And if I look at you, then it doesn't look like I'm properly looking at you. And I miss that real connection, and I miss the full body language that I can take in, and I miss hugs, and I miss little like shoulder rubs and elbows and real contact. And I miss work. I miss going out and feeling like, yes, I've got more of a purpose. And I'm doing some work from home. I'm seeing some clients on Zoom and online, but I miss real life. And actually, if you're in that, if you're in the, I have lost things and I am sad, that's okay. If you are in a place of crying a lot, or if you are in a place of feeling just like you've got no energy, like you could sleep forever, or like you never want to get up, or like you can't even sleep at all, but you just don't want to do anything and you've got no appetite, or you just want to eat all the time, or whatever it is, self-care and love and compassion right now, because you just need to be really kind to yourself while all of this is going on. And don't put pressure and expectation, just give love and comfort. And if you know someone that's here, reach out to them. I know that we are not allowed to like go around to their house and have hugs and whatever, but reach out. Don't leave somebody alone in their hole. The final phase of grief is acceptance. And I chose this card because I don't think for me acceptance is happy, yay, everything's fine. It's being able to sort of be with the feeling of it and say, I'm okay with it, but it's still sad. I'm accepting what's happening. And I think this is a funny one because acceptance, I think some people see as like a final destination, that you get there and it's like, I have completed the phases of grief. And it's not like that. That's not how acceptance goes. Because actually you might get there and accept something and think, actually, I'm adjusting to this new life. It's not so bad. I've got a new routine. Things are okay. I've got things in place and a plan, and I'm connecting with people I'm connecting with in the ways that I am. And I've taken up the new hobby of whatever it is, and I'm doing all right. Maybe you stay there for an hour. Maybe you stay there for a week. Maybe you stay there for 3 weeks. But maybe at some point, you find yourself back to feeling angry. Or maybe at some point you find yourself back to, but this is going to end next week, isn't it? Or no, maybe how long? how long is this? What is the advice? Is the advice that it might be over next week because other countries are already saying it's easing out? Or are we staying in some kind of social distance until there's a vaccine? And is that a year away? Is that a few months? How long? Why has no one told us? I think it's really, really difficult to stay permanently in acceptance when there is so much about this that's still unknown. We don't know how many people have had it. We don't know how many strands of it there are. We don't know if there is a treatment. We don't know if there is a vaccine. We don't know if once you've had it, you're immune to it, or if you can catch it a second or third or fourth or fifth time. We don't even know for certain yet what the mortality rate of this illness is. Like the WHO's best estimate at the moment is about 3% of people that get it might not survive, but we don't know because we don't have a full picture. And I think it's really hard to get and stay at a place of I accept this, it's okay, when there are so many question marks that are still around this. And so if you get here, great, that is absolutely wonderful, and cherish that moment and hold on to it. But if it doesn't last forever, and if you find yourself back here, or back here, or wherever you end up back at, that's all right. Like, you don't have to be anywhere in particular or think anything in particular. You just have to find a way of making it bearable for yourself right now. So those are my 5 phases of grief. I wonder which ones you've recognized in yourself. I wonder which ones you've recognized in the interactions you've been seeing between different people. Yeah, there's so much going on. And my main message really is, however you're feeling right now, whichever of these is most current and most pressing for you, give yourself so much self-care and so much love, because things have changed so much. And if you've had an emotional reaction to that change, I think that makes you normal. It's like there's a Blackadder Goes Forth quote where they talk about, if you're in the trenches and you don't go mad, that means you must be mad, because nobody that's sane would cope with this. I think there's something a bit similar, like the amount that's changed, the amount that has been taken away, and that has swiftly, radically, suddenly changed. If you didn't react to that in some way, even in a small way, I think that would be unusual. Like, this is a huge thing that has suddenly happened to us. So really give yourself care, however you're feeling, whatever's going on. It's okay to feel that, but just give yourself care and love and find ways to nurture yourself. So these are some of the things that help me. I do lots of yoga. It really helps me to get in my body. So those times that I'm feeling very disconnected, it helps me to reconnect through the breath, through the movement. That helps me. I'm doing some different kinds of reading and watching TV at the moment. So often I read a lot of books about trauma, and I watch a lot of drama that's sort of on the edge of like, ooh, what's going to happen? Right now, I'm reading books about superheroes, and I'm reading books about superheroes, and I'm watching repeats of Friends, because it isn't high drama, it isn't more tension, it's just nostalgic stuff that can go on and that I can watch and feel comforted by somehow, because there's enough for me personally to be anxious about without putting in any more. That's a personal choice. Maybe you've made something similar, maybe you haven't, but it's really thinking, for me, what does my well-being need right now? And for me, there's enough without adding any more. Another thing I'm doing is I'm really trying to be conscious about what I eat and my sleep patterns, and keeping those as normal as possible. And the 4th thing I'm doing is really trying to reach out. So I'm reconnecting with old friends. I'm using the technology that's available to really make as many connections as I can, so that in isolation. I'm not isolated. So yes, I can't go around and see them, I can't hug them, but I can still connect to them. I can still keep that relationship going because that's really important. So that's some of the stuff I'm doing. I'm not sure what you're doing and what works for you. Please write in the comments to share what's working for you right now. It will be great to hear from you as to where you think you are in the stages of grief and how you're coming to terms with all of the changes and how you're adjusting to this new normal of life. Stay safe wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video.